Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues. With this video, I want to talk about Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain, the divisiveness of the multiple endings, the so-calledly true ending, and everything like that. As precursor to this video, I was having a conversation with my brother from another mother on YouTube, TJ Pyramid Joe, about this very game, and he had newly bought it. It was only, so far into it as of when we were speaking about it. And I was expressing how, because of my particular plight, I've not been able to afford a modern console since my PS3 died WILOD back in like 2011. So the last modern incarnation of Metal Gear that I got to play was Metal Gear Solid 4, Guns of the Patriots. I played through it multiple times. It was basically the same as every iteration, console release before that. Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty, Metal Gear Solid 3, Snake Eater, and Guns of the Patriots. I played through these games at least a dozen times each, while I was able to with the PS3. Can't play that one anymore, but I still go back and sometimes just play through or just mess around with the previous, three Metal Gear games. And I was saying how, because my situation dictates I've had to miss out on so many modern games, from the Arkham games, Portal, Uncharted, and all these different kinds of things that I wish I could play. With Metal Gear Solid 5, Ground Zeroes as well as The Phantom Pain, it is highly unlikely, unless something drastically monetarily changes for the better, for the prosperous outcome, in my life, I'm probably never going to be able to play Metal Gear Solid 5. I was never able to play, some of the offshoot and handheld games like Peace Walker and things like that. And, I've always been bummed out about that, but I would get into looking around YouTube, and I watched all the cutscenes of Peace Walker, so I kind of know vaguely the events of it and everything. And I was never as well familiar with it as the games I actually did get to play. But I was saying, even on that chance that I probably will never be able to play MGS5, I really don't want to spoil it for myself in case I ever do get that chance. And then right after I basically said I had made the decision, I'm not going to spoil it for myself, just in case, maybe someday I get to play it and experience it firsthand, I gave into my temptation, and I started looking at the, multiple ending videos and everything like that that are cropping up all over YouTube since the game was released. And there are multiple endings, and apparently there are plot twists and everything. There's one particular big plot twist that has to do with the so-called true ending. And before I say any more, let me go ahead and let you know ahead of time, there is not going to be any spoilers in this video. I'm not going to spoil in any way, shape, or form how that story plays out. Of course, I haven't played the game, I can't play the game, but I know how it ends, and I'm just going to kind of vaguely be talking about my thoughts on that, the way it ended. If you've played the game through to the conclusion, and you've gotten all the endings, up to the true, air quotes, ending, the final ending, if you will, where the truth is so-calledly revealed, then you'll know what I'm talking about. If not, hopefully this won't in any way spoil you or, ruin that whole game playing experience, because I'm just going to be, again, vaguely talking about it. And I'm not going to reference other games in the franchise. There's one in particular that this sort of ending, the true ending, has been equated with being very similar to. And it's like, if I talk about that, the similarities between those two story aesthetics, it's going to be too potentially spoilery, so I'm not even going to reference it that way. Suffice to say, I have seen a couple of the different ending videos, and I've seen the so-calledly true ending. And I'm seeing a lot of people being very divisive about it because there is a plot twist involved, as Hideo Kojima is very well known for. And for me, at the end of the day, I think it makes all kinds of sense, this particular ending. What I will say, getting, skirting the line of potentially overarching saga-wide, spoilery territory, is to say it sort of retcons things so that things flow more smoothly throughout the timeline of the Metal Gear saga, going, precursor to the original MSX MG1, Metal Gear 1, and Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake, which I never got to play. The 2D format, sort of Nintendo versions or anything like that. The original Japanese, that is to say. I never got to play those, but the events of those games are familiar to me because I have looked into, the aspects of the saga that I've never been able to personally get my hands on and experience in first person, games I could never play. And what this really does, what this plot twist really does, is streamline the entire saga in a new and refreshing and intriguing way. It's very much a level of the things that you had come to take for granted were fact, were maybe not quite what you assumed. And, it just adds an added sense of flavor to the dynamics in the relationships between characters on a multi-generational sort of factor. If you think of like the Metal Gear Solid time frame with Solid and Liquid and Solidus and everything like that, they very much have a parallel path to what is going on precursor to their even coming into existence. And we see hints of this with, of course, Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, but it expounds off of the revelations we've gotten in Snake Eater in, as I say, a new and intriguing way. And I, as a, just a profound fan of the Metal Gear franchise, I personally love what Hideo Kojima did for this true ending. I absolutely love it because it gives added depth. And, there are specific events that it builds up to that follow in the timeline into those, MG1 and MG2 Solid Snake MSX original games, that the plot holes left over from those games are now suddenly allayed. Suddenly it all makes sense. Why was one thing, this way and another thing went that way, and it didn't really coincide, it didn't really fit together. This game, the true ending, bridges those gaps and makes a sort of sense. And for me, that is a rewarding aesthetic in the overall saga. There are, of course, certain elements that are going to be retconned from it and everything like that. But I feel like the overarching saga, the power players in the story, going back to Ocelot and Big Boss and, Eva, and moving on through the generations, the Emmerich lineage, Solid Snake, Liquid Snake, Solidus, Raiden, even, all that kind of stuff, Foxhound and Fox, and all these things. It is just a grand tapestry that it's interesting to me how people are reacting to it, saying it makes so little sense. And to me, it makes perfect sense. It's absolutely reasonable, and it's absolutely well fitted to the overarching dynamic of the saga's overarching plot. And so, at the end of the day, basically, I just wanted to bring to light my own interpretation of it. Granted, I don't have the hours of gameplay under my belt. The experience of playing this game and going through all of the missions that you go through, experiencing the open world of Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain, and, I'm missing out on that, and I probably will for all time unless my financial situation and getting my hands on the game and the consoles that can play it, any one of the consoles that can play it, unless that changes, I'm never going to be able to experience it. And I just found myself really curious and wanting to see what all the divisiveness was about, and whether or not it was well-earned or it was misplaced. In my humble opinion, I feel like it is misplaced because it doesn't end up changing anything for, like, the worse. The biggest change, the biggest ramifications this true ending has is on the experience of MGS5 and how you gauge it. The sort of, I guess you could say rhythmic outcropping from the events of this game and from that ending fit well in line with the rest of the saga, with the rest of the plot line, and it sort of corrects and makes sense out of things that didn't make sense before. And for me, it just adds that much more power and weightiness to the overall affair. So, I mean, again, you know, I'm not going to reveal any details about it. I have seen the endings, and I've seen the true ending, so-calledly, and it just wowed me, and it just made me that much more, you know, chomping at the bit, wishing I could change my situation and get my hands on playing it and experiencing it for myself. Same with Peace Walker, you know. I know there are lots of references to Peace Walker. There are character carryovers and such like that that fit into some of the missions and side missions and things like that. And it's all very intriguing. It's all very fascinating. And again, it perfectly lines up with what is, at least chronologically, the end of the saga, being MGS4 Guns of the Patriots. How you finish that game, you know, with all of the details given to you, it just adds a level of, you know, an added level of perspective and streamlining the saga. So I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below. If you've played MGS5 and you have experienced any of the numerous endings, but specifically the true ending, air quotes, please, without posting spoilers in the comments, share your thoughts with me on whether you love it, whether you hate it, whether, you know, you're feeling that divisiveness, like maybe the uncertainty of whether or not you are thrilled with it, and whether you feel, as I do, that it makes sense, you know, that kind of thing. But again, bearing in mind, a lot of people are still only just playing this game. Please go to extra steps, not to spoil or reveal anything. Just kind of tell me your thoughts and your feelings on the ending, the so-called, again, true ending, unless something else is unlocked down the line and everything like that. But who knows? You know, I just really was astounded by it, and I'm missing it that much more that I can't get my hands on it. And I'd love to hear from you guys if you feel the same way. So, otherwise, that'll be pretty much it for me on this. Hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.